First Contact Protocol. The soft blue glow of holographic DNA strands illuminated Dr. Adrienne Foster's face as she manipulated the genetic markers with practiced precision. The underground laboratory of the International Space Agency's Gene Tech Division hummed with quiet energy, a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding in the world above. Another failure, she muttered, dismissing the simulation with a flick of her wrist. The projected survival rate against the latest bioweapon was dismally low. Humanity's genetic resilience was being pushed to its limits. Adrienne glanced at the wall clock, 2:17 a.m. She'd been working for 19 hours straight, fueled by determination and too much synthetic caffeine. At 38, she was the youngest director of the Gene Tech Division, known for her revolutionary work in adaptive genetics. Not that it seemed to matter now, with extinction looming on the horizon. The secure communication panel chimed, startling her from her thoughts. Director Harrington's stern face appeared on screen, his usually composed demeanor noticeably strained. "Foster, pack your essentials. There's a transport waiting for you topside." "Sir, I'm in the middle of crucial simulations." "This takes precedence. The Nebulans have made contact." Adrienne's breath caught. The Nebulans, an advanced spacefaring species who had been observing Earth from their orbital vessels for the past 8 months, silent and enigmatic until now. "Why me?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "Because they specifically requested our leading geneticist. They've analyzed our research networks and know you're our best." The meeting's at Dawn Point. Clearance Omega. Tell no one. The Dawn Point facility, built into the side of a remote mountain range, was a marvel of integrated human and recovered alien technology. Adrienne was escorted through layers of security, each more sophisticated than the last, until she reached the central meeting chamber. The air felt different here, charged with an undefinable energy that made the fine hairs on her arms stand up. Around a crescent-shaped table sat 5 high-ranking military officials, 3 government representatives, and Director Harrington. Facing them were 3 Nebulans. Adrienne had seen images, of course, but nothing prepared her for their actual presence. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, with slender, graceful limbs and skin that seemed to shimmer with subtle iridescence, they exuded an aura of ancient wisdom. Their eyes, large, multifaceted organs that reflected light like precious gems, tracked her movement as she entered. Dr. Foster, the central Nebulan spoke, its voice a melodious blend of tones that somehow formed perfect English. "I am First Emissary Zarin. These are my advisors, Science Director Thorin and Security Overseer Calera." Adrienne nodded, acutely aware that she was representing humanity in this moment. "I'm honored to meet you. Please, be seated," Director Harrington instructed, gesturing to the empty chair beside him. The emissary was just explaining their proposal. Zarin's multicolored eyes fixed on Adrienne. "We have been monitoring your planet's situation. The pathogenic weapons deployed by the Eastern Coalition are unlike anything your species has encountered. Your genetic science, while impressive, is insufficient to create adequate countermeasures at the necessary speed." "We're making progress," Adrienne countered, defensive despite herself. "The latest adaptive protocols show promise. You will lose 63% of global population within 8 months at current progression rates," interrupted Thorin, the science director. Unlike Zarin's diplomatic tone, Thorin's voice carried a clinical precision that brooked no argument. "Complete extinction probability exceeds 87% within 3 years." A heavy silence fell over the human delegation. These were worse projections than even their most pessimistic models. "Why do you care?" Admiral Westfield, the highest-ranking military official present, leaned forward. "You've watched conflicts across our planet without intervention before. Why now?" Calera, the security overseer, made a fluid gesture with her elongated fingers. A holographic display appeared in the center of the table, showing what appeared to be a star map. "The Eastern Coalition has inadvertently created something that threatens more than just human existence," she explained. The particular genetic restructuring properties of their weapons have potential applications that could destabilize biological systems across multiple worlds. We face a shared threat. And you're here out of the goodness of your hearts. Adrian couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. Zarin made a sound that might have been a laugh. We are here out of pragmatism, Dr. Foster. The Nebulans have always believed in cosmic equilibrium. What happens on Earth could unbalance systems far beyond your comprehension. Director Harrington cleared his throat. The emissary has proposed a collaboration. A genetic initiative that combines Nebulan biological understanding with human adaptability. What kind of initiative? Adrian asked, already sensing there was much more to this proposition than simple scientific exchange. Thorin's multifaceted eyes focused on her with unsettling intensity. Your species possesses something remarkable, Dr. Foster. While technologically primitive compared to many galactic civilizations, humans have unparalleled genetic adaptability. You evolve at rates that defy standard biological models. We propose, Zarin continued, a program to create genetically enhanced defenders. Beings capable of neutralizing current biothreats and adapting to future ones. To accomplish this, we need to combine the best elements of both our species. The implication hung in the air, unspoken but unmistakable. Admiral Westfield was the first to break the silence. You're talking about hybrids. Human-Nebulan crossbreeds. That's biologically impossible, Adrian stated flatly. Different planetary evolution, incompatible DNA structures. With conventional understanding, yes, Thorin acknowledged. But Nebulan genetic science surpassed such limitations millennia ago. We can create compatible pathways between our species. Adrian's mind raced through the implications, the possibilities, the ethical quagmires. Even if possible, developing such hybrids would take generations. Not with accelerated development protocols, Kalera countered. The first viable subjects could reach maturity within months. Subjects? Adrian repeated, her scientific detachment giving way to moral outrage. We're talking about sentient beings. Zarin raised a placating hand. We understand human ethical concerns. The program would be conducted with full respect for life. The hybrids would be raised with awareness of their purpose and heritage. Their purpose being weapons against the coalition, Adrian concluded grimly. Protectors, Zarin corrected. With capabilities beyond either of our species alone. Director Harrington turned to Adrian. This is why we needed you here, Foster. If anyone can evaluate the scientific viability and ethical parameters of such a program, it's you. The weight of the moment pressed down on her shoulders. Humanity faced extinction from the coalition's advanced bioweapons. Conventional defenses were failing. And now these advanced beings offered a solution that challenged the very definition of humanity. I need to see your genetic modeling systems, she said finally to Thorin. All of it. If I'm to even consider this, I need to understand exactly what you're proposing at the molecular level. Thorin's expression remained unreadable, but something like approval flickered in those alien eyes. I anticipated your request, Dr. Foster. A full technical delegation awaits your questions in the adjacent laboratory. As the meeting adjourned, Adrian found herself walking alongside Thorin toward the lab section. The Nebulan moved with a fluid grace that made her own movements feel clumsy by comparison. Your reputation precedes you, Dr. Foster, Thorin remarked. Your work on adaptive immunity cascades was particularly impressive for your current technological level. Was that a compliment or condescension? Adrian asked dryly. A sound like crystalline wind chimes emanated from Thorin, laughter, she realized belatedly. Neither. Merely observation. You will find, Doctor, that Nebulans value clarity above diplomacy in scientific matters. The laboratory doors slid open to reveal a space transformed by Nebulan technology. Holographic interfaces far more advanced than Earth's best systems floated in perfect arrangement. 3 more Nebulans, presumably the technical experts, awaited them. "Before we begin," Adrian said, stopping at the threshold, "I need one question answered with complete honesty." Thorin tilted his head slightly. "Ask. Is saving humanity truly your primary objective, or are we simply convenient test subjects for something else?" The Nebulan considered her for a long moment, multifaceted eyes reflecting the laboratory lights. "The truth, Dr. Foster, is rarely singular in its nature. Yes, preserving Earth's biosphere serves our interests in maintaining cosmic equilibrium. Yes, human genetic adaptability presents fascinating research opportunities. And yes, the hybrids we propose could benefit both our civilizations." Thorin paused. "But understand this, the threat the Coalition has unwittingly created extends beyond your world. What we create together may determine the survival of many species, not just yours." It wasn't the reassurance she'd hoped for, but it was honest. Adrian squared her shoulders and stepped into the laboratory. Whatever came next would change the course of human history, and she was determined to ensure it wasn't for the worse. The Genesis Initiative. The Nebulan laboratory beneath Dawn Point facility had become Adrienne's second home over the past 3 weeks. Sleep had become a luxury as she immersed herself in alien genetic science that simultaneously validated and shattered everything she thought she knew about biology. "The compatibility markers are unprecedented," she murmured, manipulating the 3-dimensional model of combined DNA structures hovering before her. The holographic display showed the intricate dance of human and Nebulan genetic material, incompatible by all conventional understanding, yet merging with elegant precision under the influence of Nebulan catalytic proteins. "Your enthusiasm is noted, Dr. Foster," Thorin observed from across the laboratory. The science director had been her constant companion throughout this crash course in xenogenetics, revealing layers of biological understanding that made Earth's most advanced research seem primitive by comparison. "Enthusiasm isn't quite the word I'd use," Adrian replied, zooming in on a particularly complex genetic junction. "Fascination mixed with ethical dread might be more accurate." Thorin moved beside her, his tall form casting a subtle iridescent glow in the dimmed laboratory lighting. "Ethics are relative constructs, Doctor. In the face of extinction, priorities shift." "That's exactly the kind of thinking that leads to atrocities," Adrian countered, though without heat. These philosophical debates had become routine between them. "The moment we abandon our ethical framework is the moment we lose what makes us worth saving." Before Thorin could respond, the laboratory doors slid open. Director Harrington entered, accompanied by Admiral Westfield and someone Adrian didn't recognize, a civilian man in his mid-30s with the physicality of a soldier but the watchful eyes of a scientist. "Dr. Foster," Harrington announced, "this is Dominic Reed. Former Special Forces, now working with our Advanced Biological Defense Division. He's been cleared for the Genesis Initiative." Dominic extended his hand, which Adrian shook automatically while processing Harrington's words. "Genesis Initiative? When did we agree on a name?" "The Oversight Committee finalized project parameters this morning," Admiral Westfield informed her. "We're moving to full implementation phase." Adrian felt her stomach drop. "Without my final assessment? I haven't completed the genetic stability projections or the developmental ethics framework." "Time is a luxury we no longer possess," Harrington said grimly. "The Coalition deployed a new variant in the Eastern Hemisphere yesterday. Initial casualty projections exceed previous models by 40%. Thorin's multifaceted eyes shifted to colors Adrian had learned indicated concern. "This accelerates our timeline considerably. Which is why Reed is here," Westfield said, nodding toward Dominic. "He's volunteered as the first human participant." Adrian looked at Dominic more carefully now. Physically, he was impressive, tall for a human, with the lean musculature of someone trained for endurance rather than show. But it was his eyes that caught her attention, intelligent, yes, but with a haunted quality she recognized all too well from her time working with survivors of the Coalition's earlier attacks. You understand what you're volunteering for? She asked him directly. Dominic nodded. I've reviewed the unclassified briefings. I know you need compatible human genetic material to create these hybrid defenders. The unclassified briefings, Adrian repeated flatly, then turned to Harrington. So he doesn't know about the neural imprinting requirements? The potential for shared consciousness phenomena? The possibility that the genetic restructuring could alter his own biological makeup permanently? Harrington at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. Those details were deemed need to know. Well, he needs to know, Adrian snapped, then addressed Dominic directly. This isn't just donating genetic material, Mr. Reed. The Nebulan compatibility process requires ongoing neurological synchronization between donor and embryonic development. You'd be linked to whatever we create in ways we don't fully understand yet. To her surprise, Dominic didn't seem shocked. I figured there was more to it than they were telling me. There always is. He shrugged with a casualness that seemed forced. I've got nothing left to lose, Dr. Foster. The Coalition's first-wave pathogens took my family. If there's a chance I can help stop what's coming next, I'm in, whatever the cost. Adrian felt Thorin's attention shift, those alien eyes studying Dominic with newfound interest. The human capacity for self-sacrifice continues to fascinate, the Nebulan observed. It defies logical self-preservation instincts. Sometimes logic isn't enough, Dominic replied, meeting the alien's gaze without flinching. Sometimes you need something more primal. Like vengeance. Or hope, Adrian added quietly. Admiral Westfield cleared his throat. The Nebulan delegation has selected their genetic contributor as well. He glanced at Thorin expectantly. Security Overseer Calera has been deemed most compatible, Thorin confirmed. Her genetic structure contains markers particularly receptive to human adaptive sequences. Adrian frowned. I thought you would be the contributor, given your scientific oversight of the project. Something like amusement flickered across Thorin's features. My role is to facilitate, not participate, Dr. Foster. Besides, Calera's military background makes her genetic memory more suitable for creating defenders. Genetic memory? Dominic asked. A discussion for another time, Harrington interrupted. Dr. Foster, you have 24 hours to prepare the laboratory for the first extraction procedure. The Oversight Committee expects the initial embryonic development to begin no later than 0800 tomorrow. After they departed, leaving Adrian alone with Thorin, she slumped into her chair. This is happening too fast. We haven't resolved the ethical protocols, the development safeguards, the integration planning. Your species faces extinction, Doctor, Thorin reminded her gently. Methodical scientific progression is a luxury of peacetime. And rushing into playing God is how we created this mess in the first place, she countered. The Coalition's bioweapons started as defensive research, too. Thorin moved to the central console, activating a simulation they'd been working on. The holographic display showed the projected spread of the newest Coalition pathogen, a crimson wave consuming continents, leaving only darkness in its wake. Without intervention, human civilization collapses within 4 months, the Nebulan stated. The Genesis Initiative provides a 92% probability of developing effective countermeasures within that timeframe. And what about the hybrids themselves? Adrian challenged. What kind of life will they have, created as biological weapons and accelerated to maturity? That, Thorin said, is where your input is most crucial. Nebulans understand genetics, but humans understand humanity. These hybrids will be something new, neither fully human nor Nebulan. They will need guidance from both. Adrian studied the alien's features, searching for deception but finding only that same inscrutable scientific detachment. I want full oversight, she said finally. No procedures without my approval, no accelerated development without proper neurological mapping, and I want a guarantee that the hybrids will be treated as sentient beings with rights, not as weapons to be deployed. The military contingent may object. Then they can find another geneticist, Adrian interrupted. Those are my conditions. Thorin studied her for a long moment, then inclined his head in what she'd come to recognize as a gesture of respect. I will support these conditions before the Oversight Committee. The success of this project requires your continued participation, Dr. Foster.